My name is Alex Avila, and I founded the Relationship Institute of the Rockies to help people through classes, seminars, workshops, and therapy. And I'm talking today about engaging the 40 forms of intimacy to help couples stay healthy and connected when sex is off the table. So I started to pay attention as I worked with couples over the years who were in crisis, and they weren't thinking about sex. They thought intimacy was just sex. And I started to pay attention to all the different ways that couples can connect in a relationship. It was hard for them to see their strengths as they were in crisis. So I started to think of how did I feel connected in my relationship. I observed other couples and just thought what puts a smile on their partners' faces. There were a lot of different areas where couples can connect. So I came up with 40 different forms of intimacy that people can feel close to each other. And a big part of this is helping couples pay attention to their connection and start to realize when it starts to slip away. What just happened where they just lost their sense of connection to each other, and to help them get it back. So helping couples identify that was just a big part of writing this book. And again, it just gives tools, gives more practical help and hope for people who can maintain their connection when maybe they're not having sex or they're not even thinking about having sex yet. So some of these are identifying what they feel emotionally and expressing that with each other. A lot of the clients that we have might not have had a good experience growing up and weren't encouraged to share emotions. Maybe they were told that it wasn't helpful to do that, or it was a sign of weakness. So just helping our clients, both the betrayed partner and the addict, be aware of their emotions and begin to share them with each other is something that can bring a sense of intimacy to the relationship. So they can start to pay attention in their recovery of how their words and their actions are really helping or harming. Especially in the early stages of recovery, we're not thinking about and trying to make them vulnerable. We're not thinking about and maybe even using the word intimacy, but we're really trying to help them by teaching them with skills to communicate, to resolve conflict, but especially to listen to each other's pain and their story and help them make sense of and identify and validate what each person is feeling in this process. So it's hard for people sometimes to know what emotional intimacy is. It's intangible. We just know when we start to lose our sense of connection. So again, some of these other practical areas, one is financial. So people, they could feel a sense of closeness or they could feel a sense of tension and disconnect around the area of finances. So how do we help a couple maintain a plan that they can both get behind and believe in and support? That's important, I think, to help couples stay connected, since especially financial viability has that future security feeling in it that can be rocked when a betrayal is just discovered. So I'd have you think about what helps you feel connected to your partner, what helps you feel loved and wanted and important. I think the more that we examine these questions for ourselves, maybe the more easily we can communicate that to our clients and help them. And we're looking for strengths along the way when they can't see them. So one important thing with our populations that we're working with is to be stage appropriate. We want to focus on what's going on right now and what is. And sometimes it's a difference in pace and timing with a couple where the betrayed partner is just focusing on the present pain, and maybe the addict is moving forward and trying to think of how this relationship is going to look in the future. A lot of times there's a huge disconnect there when the betrayed partner doesn't even know if the relationship will continue. So just helping them be validating and aware of where they are in their stage of healing is really important. And even as they take steps back, we need to pace with them and make sure we're on the same page. So educating our clients about communication is going to be important, helping them see their strengths. And we're not trying to make couples vulnerable at this stage. We're just helping them begin to pay attention to their strengths from the past, even though some of those may now be in question as a recent betrayal is discovered. A main thing we want to teach is the emotional impact on each other. Again, how are they impacting each other by their words and actions? Are they being triggered by each other? How can we help them build sensitivity and awareness to their impact on each other? And sometimes it's removing a phrase or a word. Maybe they can't say "I'm sorry" anymore because that word or that phrase has been overused and abused. And we, again, can't talk about the future. We're just talking about the present, and we're taking some of the language and vocabulary that could be triggering off the table. And we're negotiating the temporary. And maybe for the first time, the betrayed partner has a voice in that. We're just trying to figure out what this looks like and see if we're able to, as a couple, help them step into something new, or is the relationship going to end? But we just want to make sure, again, we're pacing with the couple and validating the betrayed partner as well. We're helping each partner take responsibility and talk about things. So again, their actions as they're healing, and then actions from the past. The more that each partner takes responsibility for their part in the issues that are at hand, the better. And it's important for us to convey, of course, that the betrayed partner had no part in the actual actions of the addict. So making sure that they leave knowing that they both might have contributed to the breakdown in the relationship and the connection long ago, but only the addict is responsible for that behavior. So this validating that can be the first time that a betrayed partner hears that. So emotional expression, again, could be something that's really important, and just they need to be taught how to do that, and to respect the gap of their processes. So they could be at a very different pace. And if we can teach couples how to respect where the other person is and be able to validate that, we can make sure that they're walking the similar path. So the tasks that overlap with this, again, there are 40 forms of intimacy, and the ones that I found that closely overlapped for this area were 14 through 19 and 26 through 30. So 14 through 19, it talks about financial viability, it talks about support system, social support, spiritual life. All these things can be strengths that help them as an individual and as a couple. So helping them come up with a support system, some more self-care practices, all those things can benefit them as an individual. And when they're healthy as an individual, they have a much better chance of being healthy as a couple. So whether you're working with individuals or couples, I think there's a lot of work we can do to help them feel strong and independent, and as we work toward differentiation and a healthy interdependence. So tasks 26 through 30, again, we're talking about the extended family and differentiation. That differentiation is important for them to feel like they can be independent, but also that they're still together for some reason. So there's some need, there's some interdependence that is happening, and we can talk about that in a pace-appropriate way for them. We want to think about balancing that, of course, so they can walk away with a plan to help balance their time together and apart, so it doesn't feel like and we're looking for codependency or enmeshment, of course, in this stage, but we want to make sure that they're healthy as individuals and they are understanding their process and that of their partners. So toward the end of the task, their primary coupleship, the primary intimacy. By this stage, hopefully they know through a process with you that intimacy is much more than sex. I mean, they've felt probably connected. If they've made it this far, they have probably felt connected along the way. And I think it's our job as therapists to help point that out when they do something different that they didn't do before. Like, how are they connecting? They're talking now, and they didn't escalate into that familiar negative cycle this time. We really want to celebrate that, get behind that with them, and help them achieve a sense of connection just through that process, to be happy about that. We need to talk about forgiveness and educate them about that. Forgiveness may be far off, especially for the betrayed partner, so we might need to do some education about what forgiveness is and what it's not. So we know that forgiveness is not always reconciliation, and we need to make sure that they're both okay with that, so we're not moving too quickly, and we're not expecting that the relationship will continue. So we want to also, as best as we can, try to identify and maybe separate out some of the pre-existing struggles that they've had. So a lot of couples so prior to a betrayal, they bring in dissatisfaction, they bring in misunderstandings, they bring a lot of other dynamics that are now showing up, and it's overwhelming because now all those are exposed as well. So maybe even helping a couple realize that a lot of this stuff was going on before and now it's just really coming alive can be helpful, and we can break that down a little bit so their process is not so overwhelming. And most of all, we want to give couples hope, or our individual clients hope in the process. And again, we need to respect their pace of where they are and make sure that we can point them back to the model, because they can have faith in that. So I encourage you to learn the 40 forms of intimacy for yourself. I think when you, again, learn that yourself and you can experience that, you'll be able to teach that to couples, at least be aware in session of these little connection points that these couples are having. So thank you.